Hello and welcome to happilyeducated.com. Look, we have drywall. All right, so last night I awoke in a panic after having a nasty and violent nightmare. I dreamt that a group of pimps and prostitutes were threatening me and that I was trying to defend myself by swinging around a cast iron Dutch oven on a chain. I realize this is probably not a great self-defense strategy, but fortunately I woke up before anything really terrible happened. Now, my reason for telling you about this dream is that it got me to thinking about where my fears and anxieties come from. It seems to me that if I didn't already have an idea in my head that pimps and prostitutes are bad or scary, that they wouldn't be making an appearance in my nightmares. But the crazy thing is that I have never personally interacted with any pimps or prostitutes that I am aware of. And so this image of them that I have in my head comes entirely from indirect sources such as books, movies, news reports, and probably word of mouth. The prostitutes that I've seen standing around on the street didn't seem scary or threatening at all. So why do they haunt my dreams? Now, my purpose here is not to debate the moral or ethical standards of pimps and prostitutes. I'm simply using them as an example of how fears and anxieties can develop without any direct experience of the scary thing itself. I've heard many stories saying that pimps and prostitutes are bad, so clearly I have adopted this belief as my own. Now, in many ways, this ability of ours to pass on fears and anxieties through storytelling is a blessing. Imagine if our ancestors in Africa had not spread the word to each other that lions are dangerous. Our species simply might not have survived. But I would suggest that our fear-inducing stories have perhaps gone a little too far. I realize that I may just be exceptionally lucky, but I can honestly say that I have never interacted with any person who clearly posed a threat to my survival. Now, it's possible that I interact with sociopaths every day and just haven't figured it out yet, but it seems to me that pretty much everyone I meet falls on a spectrum somewhere between kind and generous and compassionate on one side and rude, petty, and self-centered on the other. So what this means is that even the worst people that I know, the worst people that I've ever met, aren't really worth having nightmares about. Now, the problem is that we are constantly bombarded with fear-inducing stories while hardly ever hearing about the good things that happen in the world. When I'm reading the news in the morning, Jeff often asks me if there's anything good happening out there. And even though I know it must not be true, I usually say no, because all of the headlines are about death and destruction and corruption and those sorts of things. So, in addition, practically every television show just is all about humans behaving badly, and sometimes really, really badly. So it's no wonder that we develop this belief that humans are bad, and that we should be scared, and that there are things to be scared of, that the world is a scary place. Even though, our direct experience of the world, our everyday experience, might not support that belief. So this problem is also compounded by the fact that when people are scared, they generally aren't going to be able to be as kind and happy and positive and generous, all that stuff, as they possibly could be. So, when a person hears stories about other people doing bad, awful things to each other, then they're going to get scared, which will make them more likely to do bad things themselves and hurt other people, which other people will hear about, causing more fear. So it's just this horrible, vicious cycle. So what can we do to break free of this cycle? Well, shifting our focus away from the stories of bad things towards stories of good things that are happening would probably be a reasonable place to start. And now, I am not in any way suggesting that we should ignore human tragedy and suffering when it is real. Certainly, people do experience scary things, and that should in no way be trivialized or ignored. All I'm saying is that we should reconsider how much attention we focus on stories that dramatize or glorify bad behavior, especially when those stories are fictional. I understand that movies and television shows showing people at their worst can be super entertaining. But, what is the cost of that entertainment? Not only does the entertainment industry normalize bad behavior by making it look like everyone is lying and cheating and stealing and plotting against their neighbors and, oh, I don't know, all those bad things. But also, they put these images in our heads that then become the stuff of our nightmares. And once those images are in your head, it's pretty much, they're there for life. It's impossible to get rid of them. I know for me, for example, I don't think I will ever fully recover from seeing the movie The Road, even though the story had no basis whatsoever in reality. So instead of fixating on the bad things people do, perhaps we should talk about and acknowledge all the human goodness that is out there. For example, wouldn't it have been great if after the Boston Marathon bombings, if the media had spent more time talking about the heroic actions of the first responders and less time showing us pictures of Johar Tsarnaev? Whose behavior does that reward exactly? And if consumers of information, such as ourselves, rejected that sort of obsessive focus on stories of evil and instead sought out stories of goodness, then things might actually change. But if we don't do that, then we will continue to be flooded with stories that create nightmares, that give us nightmares. So on that cheery note, thank you so much for watching, and happy learning.